Pretty bumpy, huh? 90 degrees yesterday and cold today. Dive. They say old spear fishermen don't get new guns, they just get longer bands. Lovely day out here. Well, this is a recent dive we did with Kevin. Now that lobsters are closed, we tried our hand at spearfishing. Not a lot else to do, but kind of a cold, windy day. I came upon this big crab on the reef and figured what the heck, I'd catch them. They're really good to eat. But this one was kind of helpless, I guess. He was caught in the fishing line. I stuck them in the bag. Later on the boat, Kevin and I both decided neither of us wanted to cook it, so we threw them back and let them go. This is a pretty cool barge I came to that's about 75 feet deep. It doesn't look like much from on top, but it's upside down and it's all hollow inside. I always like to be inside and in the shadows and look out, and I always think it's pretty. I've had some decent luck from time to time looking under the wreck for fish. Here I just leave my scooter tied to the float and hook it off and look around. Usually there's some sharks around here, and I saw one a little earlier. I've crawled back under there before, but I'm not seeing anything other than some small snappers. Nothing really worth shooting. But there's a lot of areas under the wreck that provide some cover. There's the shark goes by on the right, about a 6 foot. I don't know if it's a Caribbean reef shark. That's what I think they are. And there's a fish. I saw a nice fish there. And I lined it up, pulled the trigger, and I had the safety on. I screwed up. Messed up that shot, trying to hold my breath, try to salvage it and get another shot. But he's crawled way back in there, and my opportunities for the quick shot is kind of gone. Once again, the safety screwed me up. I don't know how many times I have to learn that lesson. But I'm going to keep looking. It's kind of risky shooting way up in there. It's small and tight, and fish can get stuck behind structure. And take another peek for the sharks and get my light out. And maybe you can see way back in there a little silver. It's not a good shot. You try to shoot real quick as you can and pull it out quick before it gets behind stuff, but no cigar this time. He's already caught. It's so frustrating. Well, there's not a whole lot you can do with a string, and other than pull. He's swimming a little. I try to pull him and jerk it and yank it, try to get them, but they can wedge themselves in there very, very tight. And if the shaft isn't a solid part of the fish, the shafts can get stuck and you end up breaking 300-pound monofilament if you're strong enough. Here I'm just taking a little peek for the shark again. Trying to yank it and let it give it some slack, and maybe he'll move and yank on it. It's really tight. I don't think I can get in there even if I take my tank off. And I didn't bring my pole spear on this dive either, which was a error. I might have been able to pole spear it and move it a little bit. I think what happens here is the eels come in, one or two eels eventually try to start eating it. Might be hard to see in the video, but I could see it when I was diving. Once the eels showed up, I wasn't so inclined to even try to take my tank off and crawl in there, since I got bit about a month ago. I'm looking around for something to push on the shaft, a stick or something, and check my air. Still got 1200. I only went down with half a tank. Just kind of wait a little bit, see if he'll move. Not sure what to do. It's a shame to lose nice fish and a shaft. There's the eel on the right, you can see it, a glimpse of it. I try to change the angle a little bit of pulling back. See if that changes it a little bit. I think the eel's got the fish now. He's wrapping it up. I say there's not a lot you can do with a string. The only thing you can do is pull on it. Finally I decided, I might be able to unhook the shooting line from the gun and use the gun as a stick and try to move or manipulate the shaft a little bit, push on it. I can't reach it. I can't crawl in there easily, grab the shaft, and eventually try to use the gun as a stick. Here's where I finally decided to give the gun a shot. See if I can manipulate the shaft with it a little bit with something rigid. Initially I'm pushing the front end of the gun in there, and then I got to use one hand on the gun and one hand pulling the string of the shaft, trying to get the shaft to be straight, and then try to push it in. It's really hard. The front of the muzzle's kind of rounded, and I'm working pretty far in there. It's really difficult to try to manipulate. Need 3 hands with a light, and a spear, and the string. Finally, I decided to use the butt of the gun. I think it's probably a better idea. The butt's flat. And there's a little bit of wide, flat area that I might be able to wedge on the end of the shaft. And even that's kind of a low probability of success, because all it's going to do is just move the shaft a little bit, and the shaft's almost for sure through the fish. So it probably won't really move the fish, but it might take some pressure off him, and he might, I think there's the eels on him, trying to eat him. Can't really even hardly see the fish. He's trying to bite the fish, but he can't get it in his mouth. And kind of losing my enthusiasm for this venture. I just keep pulling and tugging on it. It's real difficult to hold the shaft, pull the shaft straight with the string, and get the gun to push on the shaft straight. To get the shaft to push back in, you have to pull and push at the same time. Hoping to just move the fish an inch or half inch, get him to kind of wiggle out and get loose. If he starts to swim and move, if I see that, I can pull on it real quick and sometimes pop him out from the obstruction. I really have no idea if this is going to work, but I don't have much else to do. Doesn't look like it did much of anything. Keep taking a look for a shark. I'm kind of a little nervous about a shark sneaking up on me. And there he finally moved, swam, and he gave me a tiny bit of slack, and I'm pulling him out. Slam the shaft into the sand so he can't get off the other end. And put his nose in the reef, or the wreck. And try to knife him pretty quickly so to put him out of his pain and misery, and he won't be struggling or attracting sharks. There, he's dead already. Once their mouth opens up like that, that pretty much means their brain's been scrambled and they're dead and they're not going to move. You can see that big white area underneath the eye. It looks like tears coming out of his eye. That's a diagnostic characteristic for a dog snapper. It's a pretty good sized dog snapper. They get bigger, but that's a pretty nice one, particularly for Palm Beach. So I was happy to get him out of there. And I could put him in my catch bag, but there's so many sharks around, it's a lot easier to send them up on a lift bag. Your buddy should be following the float ball, and this will pop up on the surface. It's a calm day, so I hope there'll be no problem with him finding it. And typically sharks don't follow a fish going up on a float bag for some reason. We lose a few, but it's surprisingly rare.
Did you get my fish?
You
Huh?
something up?
Huh? It's not a very good shot, but
But it was a nice fish.
yeah,
That's a dog.
I know.
You can tell by the little teardrops. Right?
I had a heck of a time getting him out. I think 2 blue eels were chewing on him, but he was too big and he was way to hold.
You hooked up?
Everything else. Oh, I was happy to get that fish. It was, I probably took
That's a nice
8
fish.
minutes to get him out, literally. Maybe 10. I was ready to give up, but I took my gun off and used the gun to push the shaft in. And wiggled, and he was wedged in there, and finally he came out. But it was a battle.